Hello, this is Richard Norman, and today is show and tell day. People have asked me about my pictures, and I'll show a few of them. I can't show some of them, but they're too big. But I can show a few of them. And if you'll notice on the wall behind me, that little kind of oval picture, that was taken in 1929, the year I was born, and it shows my father, my grandmother, and I'm the baby being held by my great grandmother. Uh, she lived to be 94, so I knew her for quite a while. And the picture that's missing above, let's see if I can show it to you. That was my wife at age 17. Uh, and she was 17 when we married. And I'll tell you about this picture. It was taken by her aunt, who had a photography studio in Austin, Texas. And it was in black and white, but in those days you could color some specially made oils. And that's what her aunt did. And she got her hair, it was much darker than that. She was not a raven haired black hair, but she had a very dark brunette hair. And and she had made her hair up like that. And I thought she was so beautiful. And then this is us. I was, I think, 74, and she was 72. And you'll notice how dark her hair is, really. And she never colored her hair. She wanted to always be as natural as she could. And her great grandmother was a full blooded Cherokee American Indian. We call them native citizens today. And so she had a lot of those traits that the Indians had back in their day. She had no hair on her arms or on her legs. She never shaved her legs in her life, never needed to. And she had she was very tan, skinned, not kind of a dull brown, but her skin had a reddish color to it, and her skin looked more golden brown than anything. And then I have a picture here, if you can see it. That's my mother and father. This was taken about 1930, I think. I was close to 2 years old, I guess. I won first prize in a baby contest. This picture shows our wedding picture, and I'll tell you about our wedding. my wife's aunt took pictures, and before she could get the pictures developed, she had a fire in her studio and it burned up all the negatives. So this picture is just a snapshot made in 1949. See how skinny I was? Just to make a shadow. And she had pretty long hair. Her mother made her wedding dress from scratch, and that's why we had to wait about a month to get married, or we would have married sooner. Then the other picture was taken on our 50th wedding anniversary. She was 67, and notice how her hair is still dark. And notice how fat I am. I was 70 and she was 67. This is a picture of her shortly before she died. She was 78 in that picture. There was not a wrinkle in her face, and her hair was still, you can see a little bit of gray in it. Is all she ever had, was just a little bit of gray. You ask about my paintings. This is one of the smaller paintings of mine, if I can get the glare off of it. And I did that painting as an experiment. Small painting, it's an 8 by 10. And I had read 3 books about the old masters. I read that Jackson Pollock's works were cracking and falling off of the canvases. I don't know what they did to try to preserve his paintings. And that happened to many painters that became very famous painters because they did not paint correctly, and their paints don't last. They crack and fall off. Unless you prepare your canvases right. And I read about how now the old masters, their paintings are still good. They're not cracking and falling off of the, there's no cracks hardly at all in Rembrandt's paintings and some of those great old masters. And so I read about how they did it. They didn't paint directly from the palette to the canvas. They prepared the canvas first, and then they painted an underpainting in opposite colors of what they wanted to paint, and then they overpainted with glazes. And they used a medium. They did not use turpentine. That takes paint off. They did not use linseed oil. That's too strong, but it was a mix, a kind of a medium mix. And I learned how to do that. And so that was my first experiment using the old master's technique. And I believe I did that in 1971, and I believe that painting will probably last at least 1,000 years. Oil painting is only, well, it's less than 600 years old. It was invented by the Van Eycks, I think, in the Netherlands. And in 1433, if I remember, I haven't read that since I was 40. so I'm not certain about some things. But anyway, from 1433 until today is not quite 600 years, and that's the age of oil paintings. Someone asked about the portrait I did of my wife, and I'll see if I can show this to you. See, I don't think it's very good, but she did, and she wouldn't let go of it. But I did that in pastels. I think I was still 19 when I did that painting of her in pastels. The reason her hair is like it is because we were up on a very high hill in Austin. Austin is in the hill country of Texas, and one of the highest hills is called Mount Bunnell. It's hardly really a mountain, but it's very tall, and it overlooked Lake Austin. And the wind was terrible up there, and she had a time with her hair. Then I told you I won a national art contest out of 250,000 entries, and I received this certificate. And in that, it says third place, and it says watercolor. And I don't know if you can read on there, but it gives my age as 17. And so I thought I'd show that to you as well. I have two more. I have another 8x10 that I did as an experiment to learn how to paint like the old masters. And many years ago, I just don't have the skill anymore. I had done a copy of a Cézanne, and I lacked about the bottom finishing that painting, and I never could finish it. I kept trying, but I didn't have the skill anymore, and I can't and don't draw. I haven't in years and years. And then the other picture is a really big painting of a Cézanne. Pizarro, and it's of a street scene in Paris. And actually, that's the painting that you see these things today. And thank you very much if you watch. And I don't mean to just bore people to death with my stories, but anyway, I think I'm going to be able to get back to posting songs with music pretty soon. We're working on that pretty diligently right now. Thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you.